The title of our episode today is Are Exorcisms Escalating Throughout the Country? There's been reports about that, Father, and we asked you to come on and to give your take on this. Are exorcisms actually escalating across the country?
Yes and no. It depends on what you're talking about, the nature of it. As far
Okay.
as the solemn rite goes, as for possession, our experience is that it tends to be rather static. The number of cases tend to be pretty consistently the same. We're not seeing a drastic increase. Now, it could be that we're just not, those people just aren't, we don't have the people coming to us yet asking for the help, but we're just not seeing statistically an increase in relationship to that. What we are seeing a drastic increase is in relationship to obsession and oppression. So with oppression, which is an attack of your externals, what we're seeing is because people are getting more and more involved in the occult, and we're also seeing this with guys who like watch porn and stuff like that. They're letting demons into their lives, and so their externals are being attacked, like their job, finances, relationship, their health, things like that are being attacked. So we're seeing a real increase in that. Um, and there's just the amount of it is sometimes a little bit staggering. But fortunately, a lot of that stuff people can kind of work on themselves without necessarily having the help of a priest, at least in relationship to oppression. Then obsession, we're seeing a drastic increase in that as well. And again, that goes back to things like pornography. But I think a lot of it is just because people are living lives that are so contrary to the natural law, so contrary to the way God designed us, that you're seeing large amounts of mental illness occurring from that. But then also, you're also seeing a lot more diabolic influence where you're seeing diabolic patterns of diabolic obsession in a lot of people's lives.
Father, along the lines of this, we're hearing news stories periodically that are becoming more common, sadly, where something just out of the blue in public happens. Someone pushes somebody in front of a subway. Read a story recently of a woman who had pulled up to a Sonic restaurant to get her food. A guy walked up and just started stabbing her through the window, and then he walks away. We had the incident in North Carolina, I believe, when the woman was riding on the bus and the guy got up, stabbed her in the neck, and walked off. And these types of things are just kind of random, out of the blue, sort of make no sense, attack type of things. Is this also something you think is part and parcel with what's happening here?
Yeah, I do in this sense. It's kind of the same. It's somewhat connected to the question about, because people ask me, was the shooter that killed Charlie Kirk possessed, that kind of a thing. I think that what you're seeing in a lot of cases like that is that people are just mentally ill. They've been committing the sinful patterns within their lives, but then also, and this is one of the things I talk about in my book in psychology, is the fact that the more sinful we become, the more it militates against the way God designed us. And as a result, the mental faculties begin to break down. So there's a lot more mental illness. So a lot of that stuff is just mentally ill. But then there's also a phenomenon which we call LDBD, Little Demon Big Drama. And
Hmm.
basically what that is the demons will pick at somebody and the person gives into that picking over the course of time. And the demons just slowly lead them to the point where they're literally out of their mind, right? So the demon basically is the person makes the choice to follow the promptings of the devil so they get to the point where they're just mentally ill. So, for example, he'll get them really worked up emotionally about certain things. And as the emotions continue to take over the course of time, the person can't think rationally about a particular topic. So that when it comes time for the demon to want the person to do something really bad, all he's got to do is just a little bit of an inclination, little demon. He's just got to do just a little bit of work, and then all of a sudden, boom, the person, because they're mentally ill and they're unhinged, they're acting irrationally, just goes off and does stuff like this. So, is it diabolic? Yeah, but it's primarily an indicator that people are literally have lost their minds. They're literally mentally ill, and so that's what you're actually seeing predominantly in cases like that. It seems like it's diabolic because it's so irrational, but that just means that either because of the person's sin or because of the fact that they have psychiatric issues, but also because they've gone through this process where they've been led by the demons to do these particular things. Again, the demon doesn't have to do a whole lot to get people triggered to do certain things
Mhm. Right.
because of their mental state.